I'm so pleased to have Tim Sway at the table of Tim Sway Perspective. So thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
I found you a few years ago, probably on Facebook, making stuff out of stuff that people threw away. And I was so intrigued by that. Where did this come about? How did you start doing this?
Well, I've always been a tinkerer of sorts, and I guess I've always been a little bit of a cheapskate, and part of that is because I never had any money, and I was a working musician most of my life, and so I would see things on the side of the road and be like, well, I could probably fix that up instead of buying something new.
So you'd throw it in the trunk?
Yep, I'd always just take it home, kind of clean it up, and somewhere along the line I started doing more of that, and give things to friends, and then all of a sudden I got paid to do something, and now I'm.
What did you get paid for? Do you remember the first thing you made out of stuff you found on the side of the road and someone said, I really like that, can I buy that from you?
I can't remember the first one, but I remember my first Etsy sale. I think it was maybe my first Etsy sale, and it was my buddy's grandmother had passed, and we were cleaning out her house, and there's this wrecked old baby grand piano, and I took everything off that I could, and I made this little pedestal table out of the feet, where the feet of the piano are.
Sure.
And the little top was the music stand was the top, and it's just a little entry table, and I sold it for like $75.
And you're like, yes.
Yeah, and it was just like, and my wife was like, you sold that for $75? That's like a $500 table. I'm like, no, it's just a piano. It's like.
You like things that have a past and a history. Has
Yes.
that always been you?
I don't know if it's, yeah, I guess so. I mean, history as a subject in school wasn't necessarily as exciting as I think it is now. But no, I like to see the history in things, and I've always been attracted to being sort of connected to the past. I don't want to live in the past. I don't want to go back, but I want to remember it, and I want to bring it with me.
We want to show a video right now of, this sums up who you are and what you do. So let's take a look at this.
My name is Tim Sway, and I am the sole member of Tim Sway Perspectives. I make things, furniture, art, and whatnot out of reclaimed materials, salvage materials, stuff I find on the side of the road. I like taking things that have been used one way and misusing them and using them again in another way. Just fascinated by, taking things that people consider no longer useful and making them useful again. I tend to collect a little bit. I drive around in this old truck here, and whatever I see on the side of the road for free that looks cool, I throw into it. I become kind of a connoisseur of shipping pallets. There's, I can spot the shipping pallet that I want, from like 6 blocks. There's like a color to it that signifies maybe how old it is or what type of wood it is. I tend to not like using the reclaimed lumber from a supplier because it's all like milled and planed, and it's sort of like working with new material. Just that's old, and I like it when I'm pulling the nails out myself and I'm choosing how refinished it gets. To me, upcycled sort of connotes that something was something and is now being used as something else. Recycled would mean that you're sort of saving something, like that to me would be kind of like the side of the road might be like the recycled, and then the reclaimed is more like the, oh, I'm going to tear this down and save the wood and you have fresh lumber. I like to think of myself as an upcyclist. I think that that's some of my favorite pieces have been like a broken bass drum that was no longer functioning as a drum, so I upcycled it into a coffee table or a chair. That's what I like to do, is my favorite thing, because you have the added bonus of the story behind the material. Like these chairs, for instance, this chair is made out of some like old train station carts that were used for how many years hauling people's stuff around, and then they ended up in this basement for about 30 years, and the guy that owns the basement wanted them out, so I got them and I made stuff out of them. I absolutely think that people are being more conscious of what they buy, from just the whole like eating local movement, and I think that as our technology has made the world infinitely smaller, I think we've realized how much is actually available to us in our reach, and I think we are aware of the fact that every time you ship a crate from China, there's an environmental impact and there's a cost impact. And so if I can make a coffee table that's going to remind people of that every day, and maybe when they go to the supermarket they think a little more carefully about what they eat and they stop at the farm stand instead, and they think about it as they're throwing something away, that, oh, what, maybe this has some use, and some guy like the dude that made my coffee table could use this. Instead of just throwing it away, they reuse it. They give it away. Someone else finds life for it. That's what I'm doing. I'm making reminders of that, I think.
Video by Custom Made.
Yes.
Very well done. You are walking the walk, and you like to be called an upcyclist.
Yeah, a lot of what I do is, I'll make like, tables out of reclaimed wood and stuff, and that's all, what's in and people like it, and I like doing it. But what I really like to do is sort of push the limits and find things, because reclaimed wood has value. You go to a reclaimed wood store and you buy it, or if you reclaim it yourself.
Oh, it's got a history.
There's history, and yeah, there's like, oh, this is, like right now I'm working on this library for a woman in Norwalk. It's an awesome project, awesome family, and it's all 1850s barn wood from like Westport, and it's all local, and it's just so cool. But what I really like to do is to just like get into the trash and the stuff that people have really just said that there's no value for, no use for, and finding something to do with it.
Who taught you how to work with materials and woodworking and carpentry? Who taught you? Self-taught?
Yeah, self-taught. I mean, it's easier nowadays. You just go on YouTube. I don't know how to do something. I just go on YouTube and find some guy that knows how to do it, and I make my own videos like that, showing people some of the things that I've learned.
You have a lot of videos on Tim's Way YouTube that you have worked out and that you shoot yourself.
Yeah.
And you also play music. We should say that you're a musician, which you did mention. You've brought some things to show us. 2 guitars. Tell me about each one of them and the fact that you made them, and what did you make them out of?
Okay, well, I've made sort of, and you can see them on my YouTube channel, but I made some silly instruments before, like out of a water ski, I made a bass guitar.
I love that, by the way.
I love it too. I just used it last week in Old Line.
It sounds pretty great, actually.
It works. I use it all the time. I play it on the beach in Old Line with my buddy down there at the pavilion, and I've used it many other times. But they're silly. Like all my instruments were sort of. And so during the winter I was a little slow, and I wanted to really sort of explore guitar making. I never made a 6-string guitar before, only basses. So I wanted to see if I could, how much of a guitar I could make out of just scrap. So this was probably the first one I completed. And now I did buy.
Let me see the back of it.
Oh,
Turn
sure,
that over.
the back.
So it's all different. What is that wood and all the plates? I want to know everything that's in this guitar.
Well, I was sort of teasing you about saying that I wasn't going to tell you about the guitar until we were on camera, but the reason I thought you would find this particularly interesting is all this wood that you're looking at is the Hammonasset Pier in Madison from Hurricane Sandy when it got wrecked. And I bought a bunch of it to make some tables, and these are all the cutoffs, like the leftover parts of
which you see as gold.
I do. I mean, how many guitars can you like see through? There's like these nail holes, and and people like took family vacations on it.
Right, that's so
had
great.
memories and caught fish, or well, I'm not a fish.
The little knobs. What's going on there?
Again, it's just more pieces of the boardwalk, and I just made them out of wood, and that's the volume and tone knob. The electronics I did buy, and this bridge I did buy. This piece of aluminum, and this piece of aluminum actually came from the other thing we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
The reason I'm here, the TV show.
A reality show you've just shot as a pilot called Trashformers.
Yeah.
So let's segue into that. Tell me about it. How did they find you first?
I guess they found me on the internet because of the stuff that I do there, and there was a British production company that was making this mini-series or pilot series of a show where they were getting people like me that upcycle things. They wanted to give us something really large to upcycle, try and turn value into it, like a Ferris wheel and like an airplane. And
so that's what we'll see if they sell it and it goes. A bus, you said a plane.
Yes, and yeah, a plane, a bus, and a Ferris wheel were the 3 things. And the show, it is going to air this Friday on the FYI network at 10 o'clock at night.
But it's still a pilot, or it's a go? How many shows?
Those 3 episodes are
Okay.
airing. There's 2 of them are going to air on Friday the 10th, and then the 3rd is going to air on Friday the 17th at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And then they'll probably show them again throughout the day and stuff. But then I don't know if they're going to do any more after that. But those 3 are made. They're in the can, and they're actually going to happen. So.
That's awesome. All right, this guitar is Hammonasset. What's the other guitar?
Well, this one's also Hammonasset too. But what I did with this one is I wanted to take it even further. Whereas on this guitar, I bought a bridge, and I still bought a pickup, and I'm working on making my own electronic pickups. But this one, I actually manufactured this bridge all out of little pieces of scrap metal that I had laying around.
How do you know how to do that?
I don't.
You just do it.
I just do it. I just figure it out as I go, and that's sort of what I'm like. And I made a whole 19-part video series of making these guitars. That's on my YouTube channel, and half of the series is me screwing up and showing everybody what I screwed up.
And I think that that's great.
Because it's important. I think that so many people expect this instant gratification, like, oh, I can make a table. They start and fall. Oh, I can't make a table. You didn't try yet. You have to make 3 or 4 of them before you're going to have one. These guitars have a lot of flaws. I mean, they work and play, but
Let me hear it. I
Sure.
don't know how much we'll pick up, but
I don't know.
and are these electrified, these guitars?
Yeah, these are electric guitars. This one's a little out of tune. This one was, I think, actually I tuned it a little bit.
And we should say you're a trained musician. How far back does that go?
Self-taught, I think. But I mean, I went to college for a while for music. I play the bass. I don't really play the guitar.
Well, good enough is from where I see things.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, they work. And
What is it that you're trying to teach the planet? Are you trying to teach people something by the way you live, by the things you make?
I think a lot of people talk about like, oh, well, what's wrong and what they can do better and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And I don't really have a lot of patience for just talking about doing things. I just decided that a while ago, I decided that I wanted to just live my life the way I felt was the right way to do it, and do what's right, not because it's cool and not because people are watching me necessarily, but just because I wanted to do it. I want to raise my children to do that. So I kind of like, I want to almost like, I don't want to say teach through example because I don't.
I think that's what you're doing.
Well, I think that's why I started making the YouTube videos. That video clip that you showed that was made by CustomMade.com was the first like kind of appearance of me on YouTube, and I saw this like huge response to it. And so I started sort of, and there's a bunch of other woodworkers and makers that film themselves making stuff. This whole awesome online community of guys that just all do amazing things. And I kind of wanted to join that and show my spin, because these guys are making all this beautiful stuff, but I wanted to show this sort of quirky side and the really stick to my guns about trying to use as much used material as possible and show that, because I'm not a trained woodworker. I didn't go to some tech school or trade school. I don't know anything really. I just make it up and learn and try, fail, try again, and I just try to share that with other people. Just go out and try it and do it. And along the way, it sort of morphed into, you know, me talking about eating locally and all the other things that I try to do, and just about like trying to save everything. And so some people seem to be interested in it, which still just blows my mind.
Well, I'm looking at the views you get on YouTube, and there are a lot.
Some of them.
You
yeah.
brought something with you too, which you didn't tell me what you brought. But what's in the box?
Well, I made a gift for you, and I got to try and pull it out without making a mess. But I couldn't come empty-handed.
Oh wow!
So,
Okay.
I don't know where your camera's at. That's probably the best side facing.
All right. So, tell me about all of this stuff.
Well, you know, flowers they don't last forever, and but these do, because they're, you know, made of wood, obviously. But this is the vase is turned from a leg of a table or something. I don't know what it is off of. It was just some leg I had in my shop.
Some vintage.
Some piece of, yeah, and I hollowed it out. The stems that are sort of curled are bed springs that I pulled out of a bonfire. Someone had burnt a mattress, and I saved all the bed springs out.
Oh my
The
gosh.
other stems are forks that I got from the dump.
These are forks?
Nope, these holding the roses
Okay,
up
all right, right
are
here.
forks that I just sort of bent and curled. These are, just the other day I had to drill out a bunch of steel for a project I was working on, and these were coming off my drill bit while I had these flowers all done, and I was like, oh, those are perfect for the flowers I just made in, so I spray painted them and stuck them in there.
This is amazing. I love this.
Thanks.
And the flowers are?
The flowers are also from this leg. You can see it's the same shape, just cut and turned. And then these flowers are from a piece of one of those cedar swing sets that people throw out every 10 years and leave on the side of the road.
Look what you made out of something that people threw away.
Yeah, I thought those came out pretty good. That's one of my favorite things to do, or make like sort of silly things and really do that, like Beauty and the Beast thing. Usually I like my stuff to serve function and not just be art, but I like making, this is like,
I think this is
just
awesome.
Scraps, you know, and I really want to show that nothing should be really thrown away. There's always something you can do with it, and you can go beyond it just being sort of like junk.
Weirdest thing you've ever met, and you've got a woodworking shop in Meriden, correct? So people can come see you doing all this stuff.
Well, I guess you could give me a call. It's not really open to the public.
Hello,
but,
Tim, we're here.
Yeah.
Weirdest thing you've ever made that just resonated with people? What was it?
God, weirdest thing I've ever
I mean,
made.
you had bowling ball pins under something that we saw in the video.
I think one of the piece that I made that probably I've gotten most attention from, besides that drum that was in that video, but was I made a desk out of a pinball machine for a customer. It was his idea. It wasn't my idea. He said, I want it, and they're tilted and this and that. And there's all these. They're heavy. There's all this stuff in them, and I'm hoping I'll get a chance to do it again and really develop it even more. But so it's really just, I took a pinball machine, I made it flat, I did all this stuff. There's a video about it, of course.
Of course.
And so this video went like a little bit viral, like for a day. And all these people were calling me a monster, and they like hated it.
Because you wrecked a pinball
they're
machine?
like, what a sacrilege to this pinball machine. And all this stuff. And I totally got it. If I had taken like, you know, I went and I got some brand new working pinball machine and I cut it up and made a dumb desk out of it, that'd be horrible. But what I took like is this pinball machine that was in the back of this guy's warehouse. It was well beyond repair. It wasn't even like in good, paint's chipped on it. Nobody was ever going to restore this thing. And it was sitting in this dark corner, not getting appreciated. And now it is the #1 like possession in this man's home. It is like his like piece de resistance in this guy's house. And also all the like 10,000 people on the internet that hated it, they saw this machine. No one was ever going to see that machine if I didn't pull it out. So you know, yeah, it would be a shame if I did that to a working machine, but. It's, I don't know, I loved that whole thing. I thought the desk was great, and I loved the fact that all these people, and it started this dialogue, and I want that dialogue to continue. I was like, everybody that was like sort of trashing me, I was like telling him, like, no, dude, like I did this thing a favor, like, thank you for bringing this out, and let's talk about it, you know. That was exciting.
Well, everybody should check you out. Your YouTube videos, timsway.net. They should look for your show that hopefully airs, you know, constantly. And I can't wait to see what you make next. And this is really neat. Thank you so much for bringing this.
Oh, thank you.
Keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.
Made a trivial pursuit, spend one this in. Who is this girl? Spend all night kissing, and the ball was right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked to find myself wishing I could find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Things keep locked in the grocery store, but mine just to save time. Skip right ahead to the last ride. The harder we look, the